That's a rocket.
Monster Blood, which is book 3 in the Goosebumps collection. Mwah. It's a monster blood drive. That doesn't even fucking make sense. That has nothing, I assure you, that has nothing to do with what this goddamn book is. A 12-year-old whose parents are moving to Atlanta. And instead of carrying him with them, they drop him off at his deaf great aunt's house. Now, Catherine is a big, burly, like, at first I thought she looked like Kathy Bates, but then they describe her more, and she looks more like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Evan and his dog, Trigger, who's a small Cocker Spaniel, are gonna stay with Catherine. So he's like, well, there's nothing to do in this fucking library that Belle from Beauty and the Beast would kill a man for. So he opens the closet, and all of a sudden this black cat jumps the fuck out and attacks him and takes him down. Trigger staring at him like, what do you expect me to do, boss? But he doesn't talk, thank fucking God. And then somehow Catherine, the deaf great aunt, hears this and comes upstairs. Yeah, and she's like laughing at him, and she's like, oh, that's just Sarah Beth. And I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't do the voice. Oh, the fuck is Sarah Beth? And she's like, the cat. Evan gets bored and is like, I'm gonna take Trigger for a walk. So he grabs his dog and he starts walking around town because apparently in the 90s there was no concern for childhood safety. When he runs into this chick named Andrea. Andrea's like on this bike and she's like, hey, you look like you're stupid. What's your stupid name? And he's like, Evan, because he's so excited about some bitch calling him stupid. So they go to this toy store, and before Evan's parents abandon him because they don't love him anymore and they're moving to Atlanta without him, his mom gave him $10 to survive on for the rest of his life. All these toys are in like boxes and stuff, and they're all old and musty. And then he sees like this back room, and he sees this can. And the can says on it, Monster Blood, and it's like a blue can, and he's like automatically intrigued. And the old man that owns the store is like, the fuck are you doing in this room? You shouldn't fucking be in this room. And he's like, yeah, no, I totally get that, but I want to buy this can. And he's like, no, shit's not for sale. And he's like, but let me buy it. And he's like, no, it's not for fucking sale. And he's like, no, but just, let me buy it. We can haggle a little bit on the price. $2 and get the fuck out of my store. They open up the can of Monster Blood, and it's ooey and gooey and sticky, and they go outside to play with it because it's gross. And all of a sudden Trigger like sees it, and he like takes a big bite out of it. And he's like, oh, I'm a dog. So he goes back inside, and his aunt sees him with the can of Monster Blood. And she's like, hey, let me see that for a second. She looks at it, kind of smirks, hands it back, and says, be careful. Which is pretty ominous. It's actually kind of a terrifying moment. So he's hanging out with his friend, Andrea, and they go outside to look at the dog. They're going to go carry the dog with him for a walk. And he looks at his dog, Trigger, and all of a sudden Trigger is like, bigger, and he's walking back home, and all of a sudden he runs into these two twins, Bamer brothers. So there's these two twins that are just bullies. So these bullies like, oh, hey, how you doing there, new kid, and start pushing him, beating him up. And then all of a sudden Andy shows back up. She's like, oh, I forgot that. What the fuck are these Bamer brothers doing with you? And then they push the fuck out of her and steal her bike and leave. He goes to look at his Monster Blood, and then all of a sudden it's overflowing from the can. And that's weird, because Trigger ate some of it. How is it more in the can than when he started? That's whatever. I'll just put it in a new thing. So he puts it in like a coffee pot thing. And he gets Andy over there. And they look at the coffee pot that he's put the Monster Blood in, and it's now overflowing yet again. He goes downstairs in this huge bathtub. So he starts pouring it in this huge bathtub, right? And it just starts dipping everywhere, and it's consuming the bottom of the bathtub, and it's like it's almost breathing and living, when all of a sudden something grabs him from behind, and he's freaking the fuck out, and it's Sarah Beth, the cat, fucking with him. And the cat's just pounced on him, and it shoves him into the Monster Blood. Oh my god, I need to tell someone how much of a problem this Monster Blood is. Which at this point, the Monster Blood's really not that much of a fucking problem. It's been puppy steroids, and it expands a little bit, which could easily be explained by heat. The bathtub is now full with Monster Blood. So he goes to his Aunt Catherine, and he writes down on the paper, I need your help. The tub is filled with Monster Blood. She looks at it very seriously. and then just starts laughing, like this big, deaf, old Arnold Schwarzenegger cackle. Like, this is hysterical. And then she grabs him by the earlobe and says, I warned you to be careful. And she throws him back and fucking walks out. And he's like, he piles up all the monster blood into a garbage bag, but one garbage bag doesn't hold it. So he gets Andy over there, and she piles it all into a second garbage bag. And they make their way to the old toy store. And so they're like lugging the garbage bags all the way. They, you know, describe, it's basically like fucking going to Mordor to get rid of the ring, is the way they describe it. So they're carrying the 2 trash bags to rule them all to the toy store. And they finally get there, and the fucking toy store is closed. And this Evan kid has like a mental breakdown where he starts screaming like, open up! Open up! And he's pounding at the toy store. Puts it in the trash can, and yeah, that's what happens. He puts it in the trash can, and it's all closed up. He closes the lid on the trash can, and Catherine steps outside, and she's like, oh, I had great news for you. Your mom called, they're coming to pick you up to take you to Atlanta this afternoon. And he's like, oh, fuck yeah, I get to go home. We have ever-expanding blood in this trash can. We have Jello that really is fucking alive. Don't you think we need to resolve some of this? And he's like, no, fuck that, Atlanta! And the monster blood all of a fucking sudden becomes sentient and literally like stands up from the trash can and starts bouncing the fuck around and going to attack Evan. Imagine Flubber, but from hell. Snowball rolling on a hill and it picks up everything? Well, that starts happening with this like Flubber ball of death. Twins, the 2 brothers, like are coming around the corner like, oh, we're gonna kick that guy's ass. And Evan's like, fucking run! Flubber ball, but it's too late. So the Flubber ball just runs the fuck over them and like absorbs them, right? Catherine like steps outside and she sees the Flubber ball and like screams her fucking head off. And the Flubber ball like hears her and turns towards her and starts like heading towards her. I know this sounds fucked up, but this is what happened. Run inside, and there's Catherine, and she's screaming, get out of here, get out of here. And Evan's like, no, Aunt Catherine, I have to help you, come with us. And Aunt Catherine's like, no, I made this, I have to stop it. And everybody's like, what the fuck did you say? Put a curse on this stuff, and you were trying to kill me. And Catherine's like, no, it wasn't me, it was her. And she points. And Evan turns around, and the only person he sees there is Andy. Not her, her! And she points past Andy, and there's Sarah Beth, the cat, in the doorway. And then the cat stands up and starts to grow in this long fucking shadow. And it's a woman that was disguised as a cat. Catherine's like, 20 years ago, I thought she would be my friend. I thought she would protect me. But she cursed me, she made me her slave, and said I was never allowed to have friends, I was never allowed to have anyone here, I had to be just hers, subservient to hers forever. So she took away my hearing, she won't let me do sign language, she won't let me read lips, nothing. She made me curse this monster blood for you. Sarah Beth tells the monster blood to eat Evan and Andy, and the monster blood starts like making its way towards them, and all of a sudden this roar just fucking stops everything dead in its tracks. And behind Sarah Beth is Trigger, but now he's like a massive fucking velociraptor-sized dog, and he just fucking hauls off running towards Evan, knocks Sarah Beth over into the blub thing, and it fucking disintegrates, Beauty and the Beast, spell broken, and then everything's gone, right? And all that's left of the magic blood is like one little spot, like a tennis ball size, and the twins fall out of the thing, and like, oh, what the fuck happened? And they just take off running. Trigger starts to shrink. Aunt Catherine, she can hear again. Evan's mom shows up, and she's like, what the fuck just happened? Why are those boys running out? Like, what the fuck just... And Catherine's like, well, wait till you hear this story. And everyone chuckles like a goddamn sitcom. But those kids are like traumatized for the rest of their Your cat was a person. This monster blood is literally just Jello. That's all this bullshit is. Until some cat forces an old deaf woman to curse it. Like, so the old man has nothing to do with it. Even the fact his store closes, that's just a bad economy. Like, this monster blood really didn't do anything. Like, at the end, yeah, it's gonna kill you. But before that, nothing fucking bad happened. Like, the monster blood didn't even jaywalk. As far as like a kid's book, it's actually pretty good. I mean, it's like, I would say like a 7. Like, as a real book. I wouldn't wipe my taint with it, but like, bottom of the ball, and this is the front of my ball, and this is the back of my ball. like right here, delicately. That's what I would do with the book. Next time, Trevor will be here with Say Cheese and Die for Reader Beware. Fuck off, bitches. Ooh.